Tonight we begin in Addis Ababa, where African heads of state and governments have accused the ICC of engaging in what they call a ratio witch hunt.
They have now dispatched an AU mission to tell the United Nations to prevail upon the International Criminal Court over the matter.
And as KTN's Noah Otieno reports, the African Union leaders minced no words at the end of the summit that has seen a candid criticism of the West for allegedly failing to give Africa space to find its own solution for her own problems.
This is the strongest language so far ever to come out of the African Union on the matter of the International Criminal Court's interventions in Africa. And the African Union leaders are saying that the ICC is engaging in racial discrimination in the manner in which it is prosecuting those suspected of crimes against humanity.
The intention was to avoid any kind of impunity and so ill governance and the crime, but now the process has degenerated into some kind of race hunting rather than an objective of taking care of those crimes and as well as impunities. So we object that.
ICC is not the court of first resort. It's actually the court of last resort. And now that Kenya has reformed its judiciary and they have now confidence in the judiciary in Kenya, things should be left to the country.
The AU heads of states and governments are saying that the ICC is being used to humiliate African leaders, and they are willing to pull all the stops to have this terminated.
Kenya has the capacity and the legitimacy to prosecute perpetrators of the most serious crimes, including the post-electoral violence. It is not in the interest of the ICC, the Security Council, the African continent, and relationships between the three to see further humiliation of African people and their leaders by an unfair criminal justice system.
If you take the example in Kenya, you know, the indictment has come because of the clashes between the two tribes, the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu. But these two clans, they came together and almost to say 100% elected the two president and the vice president. But ICC, what does the ICC need then? And the chasing of ICC of these presidents is not clear to the African leaders. And the African Union is mandated by the Assembly to take care of this issue, to present to the United Nations of the core of the matter.
This is not the first time that the United Nations is being petitioned on the matter of the ICC cases facing President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto. But this time round, the AU leaders are saying if they are not listened to, they are willing to use leverage against the international community to show that they are serious on what they are calling humiliation of African leaders. Noah Otieno, KTN, at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
All right, so the resolution is in, but how easy will it be for African countries to walk out of the Hague-based court? Let's listen in to Asha Mwilu.
The AU resolution on the Kenyan cases pending at the International Criminal Court has sent a resounding message across the globe. Even in the nondescript diplomatic language, the message is loud and clear to the ICC. However, the sun did not set without The Hague giving the African Union a piece of its own mind. Through this statement wired to KTN, the ICC underscores that AU resolutions or decisions are political, and that ICC is a judicial institution and doesn't take political matters into consideration when deciding on cases related to serious and grave crimes allegedly committed in Kenya. James Gondi, an international criminal law expert working with the African Center for Open Governance, agrees with this statement. He explains the intrigues of withdrawing from the Rome Statute.
If there was a process for withdrawal, which is a very lengthy and detailed process, it would be individual countries who would have to make that decision on their own and not the African Union as a bloc.
The indictment of sitting president is what I want this hall really to focus on.
They're asking, in particular on the Kenya case, that the case be reverted back to the Kenya courts, which obviously there's a new judiciary, there are a new constitution, and so there are new institutions that can actually take up this case.
This new wave of reasoning has, however, been termed as a complete turnaround by the AU, which in 2008 recommended that the Kenyan post-election violence be investigated by the ICC.
It's our political elites who referred us to the ICC. With regard to Uganda and other countries, the cases that they are facing before the ICC were referred by the governments themselves. So this is quite a contradiction.
Whether or not African states shot themselves in the foot by signing the Rome Statute, ICC is reminding the continent of the gravity of being signatories. The court says that 34 African states are parties to the Rome Statute. Parties have legal obligations under international criminal law to fully cooperate with the ICC. While the UN Security Council is able to defer ICC cases for up to 12 months, this deferral cannot be renewed indefinitely. The Security Council cannot order the court to drop a case. This means that the AU's quest to have the Kenyan cases deferred could be too big a bite to chew. Ashamwilu, KTN, Nairobi.